Good morning, all. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at Motivational Monday. We'll be starting in 2 more minutes. Just give us some time to get more participants in, and then we can start, yeah? Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at Motivational Monday. I am Shahira from Coach SGE, and today we're having Lim Tiarong, a shooting coach, and Louis Keng, floorball coach, with us here today. Before we start, probably I'll just give you a bit of some ground rules. Firstly, I've actually mute all of you, so if you want to speak, you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat. Or also you can on your mic and also say out your question. Another thing is also if, let's see, wait, give me a moment. There are also more people coming in, so I will need to admit them. Just give me time. Okay, yeah. So basically, we will start off with just a quick introduction, or probably I just wanted to get to know how are you guys feeling today on a Monday. So let me see. Give me a moment. Okay, so we will do a poll. Just let us know how you're feeling today, whether you're feeling good, whether you're not feeling too good. Just share, just wanted to know because it's the start of the week and we are 2 weeks away from the end of circuit breaker. So hopefully people are feeling a bit more positive. Okay, so just put in your vote if you can see the poll. Okay, please, so please vote how you're feeling today. Going to see some responses coming in. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. It's good to know that a lot of you are feeling good and feeling awesome. So yes, so it's really good to know, and I hope this Motivational Monday will be a good start for you to kickstart your week and also learn some tips from our fellow coaches. So today with us, this is actually a female edition, so we have our very own female coaches with us. Firstly, we have Lim Tiarong. She is actually a head coach of the shooting academy in the Singapore Sports School, and also she was a recipient of the Singapore Coach Medallion in 2019 in the high performance category, and also a certified international federation trainer, conducted courses in Singapore, Thailand, Laos, and even India. So she has a good coaching track record. And as you can see, she has had major achievements in the major games, in the ISSF Junior World Cup, and even SEA Games. And of course, one of her greatest achievements would be this, discovering Martina Veloso. So Martina was, she started off as a Learn to Shoot program with Tiarong, and she actually, within 2 years, broke the national record and was the youngest shooter to actually win a gold medal at the ISSF World Cup, and subsequently won silver at the YOG Youth Olympic Games in 2014. And of course, this success is actually thanks to Tiarong, who is behind Martina. So probably can I have Tiarong to just speak and say hi to the audience? Tiarong.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Hi. I'm glad to be here. I'm very honored to be invited. Hope we can have more sharing later.
All right. Thank you, Tiarong. And of course, the next coach we have is Louis Keng. Louis is a former head coach of the Singapore floorball women's team. And of course, under her leadership, within 2 years, she actually managed to successfully led the team to retain their SEA Games title, which is the gold medal, last year in the SEA Games 2019. And also they managed to successfully had their best results which was they got into the 12th placing in the World Floorball Championship. So of course, Louise also within these 2 years she managed to successfully develop the team to be a cohesive unit and to have that team identity and that so a very strong team. So she invested on a lot of culture building and team building within the team. And yeah, so probably as you can see, I don't know if you have read the news also, Louise actually appeared in the Straits Times, in the newspaper, and she actually led the Singapore floorball to a whole new level. And athletes actually thought her as more than a coach and always say that she always inspires them to do better every day. Yeah, so maybe can I have Louise just say a few words and say hi to the coaches?
Okay, hi guys. Great to be here on a Monday, and very honored to be able to share with everybody. I see some familiar faces here, so thank you for attending this sharing, and hopefully, what I'm about to share with you will help you in helping your teams, like team development of a positive team culture. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Louise. So it's a very privilege for us to have these two female coaches today to share how they have actually helped to shape their athletes in terms of their relationship with their athletes, their engagement, and even motivation in motivating their athletes. They will also share on how they actually upskill themselves also to cope with the coaching stresses. And of course, during this period, it's a good time for us to reflect also on our coaching practices and how we can improve our relationship with athletes, because we know that one of the key success to coaching is of course having that good relationship with our athletes. So what better way than to have these two female coaches here with us to share. Probably let's have Louise to start off. And also these two coaches have two good perspectives, because Louise will give you a perspective on developing your team and also in terms of having that relationship with adult athletes. But for Tia Rong, she actually is an individual sport. So how on a one-to-one level and individual level, how do you develop your relationship with your athlete, and also from youth and all the way to high performance. Okay, so Louise, probably I'll just hand over the host to you, and you can share with us about how you managed to successfully shape your team and also to lead them to be a cohesive and strong unit together. Okay, I'll just pass the host right to you, and then you can share your screen.
So everyone can see my screen, I guess. Let me just put it on a full screen mode. Okay, so thanks for your attention. Yeah. So this is basically the Singapore women's floorball team that I've coached since when I took over the head coach role in July 2017 all the way to December 2019. So this encompasses who we are, what the team represents, whether is it we're tired doing training camps, or we have achieved our greatest successes in the various areas, or travel overseas for some overseas tournaments against European clubs. This is what we have done, and we have been throughout the entire 2.5 years that I was in charge of the team. So first things first, maybe I'll just share with you what my coaching philosophy is. My coaching philosophy basically is to trust in the process. Okay, coaches, we need to trust the process that we have to consider into developing our team, whether is it in terms of the tactical aspect, but as well as developing and molding our players into one. So my coaching philosophy basically is to trust in the process and invest time, although it really takes a lot of time, invest time to develop holistic players and a positive team cohesion and culture. And how we have done so we have abbreviated our Singapore women's floorball team to S.W.F.T. Basically, we have broken it down to the team being selfless, to have a winning mentality, to have fun, and to have trust in each other. So, between players and between coaches and players as well. So I put out all these pictures. Basically, picture says 1,000 words. So selfless, I would say that. Okay, so at World Champs, I brought 23 players. These 3 players you see here on the screen, who are very selfless, as with everybody else in the team, they actually prepare ice bath for the team every single game. They went all the way there. They were players who may take over players who were injured during the tournament, but otherwise they have a lot of selflessness in them. They prepared ice baths, they took statistics, and they prepared the team's welfare throughout the whole entire tournament. The winning mentality is something that it's a little bit more challenging to instill, but otherwise at the elite level, it's important for players to keep a strong mentality and focus on the game. So we focus on the winning mentality. At the side of it all, we also must learn to have fun. We all participate in our sports to have fun. We want our players to have fun. Players may feel less motivated if training is a little bit mundane or monotonous. So we always try to instill fun during trainings, or even these three players here, they're having fun at the side of the bench. And of course, at the end of the day, we need to trust each other. So this S.W.F.T stands for what it stands for, and our players actually follow through with that throughout the whole entire season and throughout the years that we have gone through the different tournaments or different training sessions together, right? So how do I build a team culture? Very simple. We have, I wouldn't say rules and regulations, but we have certain set of character values that we try to instill, or things that we want to introduce to our players. So for one is discipline. So discipline comes with punctuality for trainings, being disciplined in their rehab and recovery, as well as players having the motivation to train themselves. Someone once said that it takes 10,000 hours to train to become an elite athlete, or to be as good as an elite athlete. So when we say punctuality, discipline comes from the team, it comes from the coaches as well and the officials. So when players are late, we implement not fine, but we implement a push-up fine, where we do 20 push-ups if we are late. So if players are late, officials also late, we will also do the push-ups, because we all lead by example. And that is very important to us, that we lead by example. We are also very disciplined in terms of letting players do their rehab. Players are too excited to get back into the game when they are injured, but they do need to understand, as coaches, we do need to help them understand that focusing on rehab and recovery will extend their playing life even longer than what it really, if they may shorten it if they were to continue if they are injured. And of course, it comes with self-training, etc. So peer learning, we have created a peer learning culture which enhances definitely, like what I listed here, communication, adaptability to each other's playing style, and also we encourage them to be creative in terms of the way that they play. Of course, there's tactics and strategies to follow, but of course, in floorball, we have different lines of players, and each line of 5 players have to work together to score a goal or to defend properly. So in this way, when they peer teach and they peer learn from each other, it encourages greater communication in the whole entire line, and eventually for the whole entire team. Accountability is very important to us in the team. So in the team, I've set up different sets of committees. I've individuals that are in charge of the social media platforms. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, they take charge of that, and as well as the content. Individual duties also include logistics. Individuals that are in charge of planning a duty roster for players to take home their equipment, our team equipment, like the balls, etc. So every training, we have different sets of individuals that are responsible in managing the equipment. We also have the outreach team, for example, that manages external events or activities that as the national team, we are expected to perform our duties to outreach to secondary schools, or outreach training program or corporate programs for our sponsors. This is what we do. And then individual duties, like I mentioned, everybody has a part to play. And this includes overseas duties. So we travel for overseas training, etc. We also form certain set of guidelines and individuals to be accountable for their roles and responsibilities. For example, we have someone who is the timekeeper or the policewoman who we call that always takes time if someone is late. And then we have others, again, logistics, team welfare in terms of, for example, taking care of the recovery food if it's an overseas tournament, etc. So we all are accountable for that. My team captains are the ones that help us manage the team as well. So when we have individual duties, it also includes every week or every single training session, the captains are not the only ones leading the whole entire warm-up or cool down. Everybody is responsible for that. A lot of times we just follow and we don't, or players tend to forget what is being done. So when we list down different duties every single training for individuals to be responsible to do warm up and cool down, everyone is more aware of what needs to be done for this kind of warm ups as well. The other form of thing that we look at is also players development. So we are fortunate to have SSI help us in the areas of nutrition and rehab and sports psychology as well. But on our part, I have a trainer, Yati. I think she's in this sharing as well. She actually helps the players to understand better about their rehab and recovery, and as well as the certain aspects of mobility, strength and conditioning that players are more aware of. So it took a while for us to help players understand that they should and must recover in order to get back onto the court better and stronger. The other area that we look at is we help players with creating their personal outcome and process goal. So outcome goals, as what we know, is, for example, a player wants to become a formidable forward. But in order to be a formidable forward or a striker in some sports, there's a process towards trying to achieve that target of being a formidable striker. So what does it mean? It can mean, for example, daily training sessions. What do I need to achieve? My own self-training methods and drills and activities that I need to do. Okay, this comes as part of the process goals that we have highlighted. The challenges that I faced, developing a team's attitude of gratitude is very important to us. We may take things for granted at times, but that is why we share information with players that we can disclose regarding administrative matters that are related to the team. So when we do so, players understand what we have gone through or what the officials are going through. Because we manage a wide range of administrative tasks behind the scenes, we all know that we do a lot of work. So it allows us to help players understand the processes, whether it's administrative or team management processes that we go through. They feel that they are being cared for, which is really important to us. And in a sense that they develop an attitude of gratitude. The other area is emotional investment. The coaches and officials and we do spend a lot of time to manage the players, welfare, and other aspects of floorball or out of floorball that they want to share with us to let them know that we do really care about them. It's not about team performance or individual performance at a game. We have good days, we have bad days, that is for sure. On Monday, a player may be playing very well, but on Wednesday, and this same player may be having a downtime. So we have to go and find out, is it because of work stresses? Is it because there's something that's happening? There's exams coming up, really very stressed because of project works, etc. So we do invest a lot of time and of course the emotional investment to develop and understand our players even more in that sense. And we as officials and coaches, we do spend time doing this as well. To address the fun element of S.W.F.T, we find possibilities and ways to break the monotony of training. We all play our sports for fun. When we reach a certain level because of our passion or our willingness to, want to excel in our sport itself, we are very invested in that. But often, sometimes we forget to have fun. So coaches, we have the responsibility or we have the chance to bring back the fun of the sport for the players and develop the passion further for them so that they will enjoy coming to training rather than having players drag themselves to training because they may have I have no choice but to go for training. So how do we break that monotony of training? So a lot of times we plan for activities, fun physical activities before game, Sometimes it is a PT session in between training to break the monotony of training itself. And then, we allow players to have fun. So all these pictures that I've shared with you are really things that we do. So for example, all of us on the train, we're actually going for training during training camp. Over here, we are actually having fun before international game, because you break the tension that is or the pressure that the players have. And that is important because players usually feel the pressure to perform. But if you let them have fun, become more relaxed, they feel ready to go on court, knowing that I know everybody has got my back. So we do have these kind of activities that we have. We celebrate birthdays monthly, during training camp, or is it after training, we have cakes and stuff. And then once in a while, we have team bonding activities. So this has helped me develop the team that I have had to the pleasure to train for the past 2.5 years. I must admit, it was not an easy ride. It's any other team that you coach, it's not an easy ride, especially if you have to coach a bunch of elite athletes coming from several different clubs, and they are the best of the best. So that in itself is very challenging because they may be enemies during the league, but when they come together, they are actually one team. So why I use this approach in developing this team is based on my experience as a former national athlete myself. I've gone through coaches that I could have learned more from. I've gone through coaches that have neglected players on the bench, failure to explain why I was benched or why other players have been benched. I've had coaches that focus totally on just technical and tactical aspects, neglecting the emotional and social development of the player itself. Especially if you coach players in the youth age group, for example, the teenagers. They are the ones that are most influential. They are the ones where you can really develop holistically. But I know it takes a lot of time and a lot of emotional investment to do so. So this is what I based my objective in coaching the team. By trusting in the processes, the team was able to achieve the results that they have achieved last year. Furthermore, last year was really a very hectic year for us. We had SEA Games and World Champs back to back. Our turnover day was only 1 day. So after we were done at SEA Games, the next day we came back to Singapore, and the next day we flew out to Switzerland. And we ended our SEA Games before SEA Games even started. That was a really very physically challenging, and it's a lot of mental challenge for every one of us in that sense. But basically, this is how I have approached the team. But needless to say that I could not have gone through this without the team behind the team. I have worked with local coaches, trainers. I've worked with coaches from Finland who have coached national teams. So they have coached the Finnish team, they have coached the US team, they have coached Australia, and then of course now they are providing assistance to us in terms of coaching Singapore team. So the coaches ourselves, we have a shared vision of what we want the team to be. And then we are able to adapt. We must practice flexibility and adaptability. My players' age range from 18 to 31. So 18 being the youngest poly-going student versus a working adult and a whole entire spectrum. So we have to be able to adapt to how the players are feeling before training even starts, right? So that is one. We lead by example. Like I gave, if players have to do push-ups because they're late, officials will also do push-ups if we are late for training. So we do lead by example. It takes a lot of teamwork from us. We may have disagreements, but at the end of the day, we all have the shared vision and objective of helping the team develop holistically. And of course, mentorship comes into play. With the Finnish coaches who have the immense amount of experience they have in this sport, it has definitely helped us understand better how to develop tactics, strategies, even how to plan for technical kind of drills and activities from their perspective because of their experience. So I go through mentorship to these coaches as well. So we all have this 5 areas that we are all have this same vision for. And of course, yeah, we all have shared responsibility in managing the team as well. So this is what I have, a team behind a team. It is very, very important in that sense. Of course, this is my last slide before I transfer it back to Shah and Jiarong, that I always have this note to my players, which I tell them periodically, that they should be the best that they can be, even if they're having a very off day. That is something that we have to understand, right? The study of stress, stress from school, stress from work, meeting deadlines, even tired from work or school. This is something that we have to, as coaches, we are able to understand because we have gone through it ourselves, or we ourselves are going through this with the back-to-back coaching sessions, or if you're a part-time coach, you have other work that needs to be done. All of us have bad days, but if they can be the best that they can be, even if it's even it's an off day, I think it is something that we have to remind them. None of us are perfect. That's why we have to remind ourselves. So this is something that we also have to remind players, that they just have to be the best they can be for that day, even if it's not their usual 100%, but it's their 100% for that day. And of course, is for the players to be humble and to be great. And great, I split it down to the acronym of being grateful, to have an attitude of gratitude, to be respectful of teammates, officials, opponents, to be empathetic. Basically, we don't judge. We try not to judge others because we will never know unless we put ourselves in that person's shoes. To be accountable for whatever responsibilities and roles that we all have. That is one. And of course, to be able to trust and to be trustworthy ourselves. That is something that I occasionally remind the players, that to be great. We all want to be great people. We want to be great players. We want to be great coaches. But great to us, or to me, it means grateful, respectful, empathetic, accountable, and to be trustworthy. We should be able to be mentors for coaches to trust, like for players to trust us in what we are doing and what we are doing for them. So our leadership style is pretty much based on our objective for coaching. And I'm sure that every team that you coach will have different types of objectives or I don't know, vision for each one. But at the same time, we do need to remember that we do have the influence on the players, and how we can better influence them is what your coaching philosophy is. And are we able to do so and develop holistic players and eventually lead to a positive team culture? At the end of the day, successes will come if we trust in the process. And for me, that has worked. And trusting the process came with players trusting the officials and us trusting the players to be accountable for what we are supposed to do during tournaments or during training sessions. In that whole retrospective of what it means to have a positive team culture. So I guess that's what I have to share, how I've developed the team. In 2.5 years, I really, like I share with you, it has been challenging to coach an elite team. Hopefully, the coaches here are able to pick up certain tips, or I hope I was useful or helpful enough to provide you with certain tips on how to start off with developing a team culture. What is it? Team tradition. We have team traditions of cheering before training, after training, high-fiving each other after a drill, or especially after a tough drill. And of course, encouraging players to encourage each other more on court. More often than not, I'm being reminded by my players to be more forgiving on the bench, especially during game. Because we will have a lot of emotions in us, like you want to yell, but at the same time, nope, okay, we try to maintain this composure. So sometimes when we build this culture with the team, the players might end up, hey, coach, chill, just chill, relax. It will take place, but just chill and relax. So this is something that we have to remind ourselves as well. It's challenging, but yeah, this is pretty much we have to do. So I'll pass it on back to Shah, I guess.
Yes, I already reclaimed host Louise.
Okay.
Thank you for the sharing.
Yep.
Just want to ask you, I mean, we have a comment from Albert saying that what you did was so very impressive, and you sound more like a manager than a coach because it seems like you're doing quite a lot of things. But it's true. I mean, if you trust in the process, but I think before trusting the process, or before having that trust within the team, how do you, in the beginning, when you have this team in front of you, how do you actually manage their differences and the conflict that they may have amongst each other? Because I think I believe that will be the beginning, and then when they start trusting each other, then subsequently the team learn to have that level of trust and respect with one another.
Okay, so like I said, it's a whole entire, there are probably 6 to 7 clubs, and all these players belong to 6 and 7 clubs. And I manage, the official and I, in one typical training session, we manage a maximum of 30 players for one training session. So that is a lot for one person to handle. That's why it's good to have a team. To manage conflicts and stuff, I won't really want to say we use force, but we purposefully group them in, for example, if we go for training camps or we go for overseas competitions, we will randomly group them in like roommates. We don't let them, okay, you pick your roommate. We don't do that. We purposely assign roommates to them. When we have group activities, especially if we're doing team bonding activities, we purposefully arrange them as such, because you help build the dynamics of the team, and you help each other understand everybody a lot better. I know a lot of coaches have to deal with a lot of conflicts, not a lot lah, some conflicts within the team, which we all know it is something that we may want to avoid, but as coaches, we do need to manage that aspect, and that would be one of the challenges in that retrospective. So I get my other coaches to help me as well, because some players are more comfortable to talk with certain players. So that helps. That's why it's good to have a team in that aspect, to manage the team. That's why, like who says managing team, is team management is very important, especially when you hit the elite levels, right? It is all about player management, in addition to your strategies and tactics and stuff. Yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Louise.
Yeah.
All right. So, I think while we talk about having that relationship and trust with our athletes, maybe we get Sarong to share with us how she herself actually developed that relationship in terms from the start on the youth level all the way to high performance. I'll just pass the host rights to Sarong now.
Hi, everybody. Just give me a minute when I share my slides. Yes, can you guys see?
Yes.
You can see the slides, huh? Okay. Okay, so, okay, these are my shooters. Okay, so my shooters, I'm from Singapore Sports School, so I'm in the shooting academy. I'm a shooting coach. So because we are a school, right, the shooters that I have actually range from the age of about 12 years old all the way to 20 years old. So they are normally in the so-called a teenager age group. Okay, and they are from they participate in youth, junior, and also in the national squad. So if you see over here, so the range of shooters that I deal with, okay, is the full spectrum. That's to say, when they first come into my school, they have zero knowledge about shooting. So we actually organize learn to shoot program for the primary school, and we select them. So we started them from a totally white piece of paper, and how are we going to structure them until they can actually, by the time they reach hopefully 18 and above, we can have people that is representing the Singapore. So in my academy that we do have students that represents in the national youth team and in the national squad. Some actually go on to represent in major games. So SEA Games, Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, and now we also have students who are actually trying to vie for spots for the Olympic Games. So the range of people that we deal with is totally from zero all the way to high elite level. Okay. So how are we going to deal with this big range of students or shooters that we have? So the engagement of the athletes is very important aspect, because in order for you to get their buy-in, in order for them to continue training for this period of time, they need to be engaged. They need to be able to take in what you're telling them. They need to continue this passion in their sports. So this engagement part is an important factor for our training. And I've divided them into two aspects. One is based on our normal training, and another one is based on their personal life. So these are the two aspects that I'll probably like to share with you guys about how we go about dealing with them. So for training wise, we have to look at the age, because a 12 years old shooter and a 20 years old shooter, the understanding maturity level is very different. Okay, and also the sporting level. So for a shooter that just first started learning and to a shooter that is actually trying to win a medal in the major games, okay, their level of understanding, their expectation of themselves, expectation of you is also very different. So we need to cater to this large range of athletes. As for personal life, of course, we are the school, their studies, families, friends. Actually, there's more things that comes along with it. Okay, so if you can look for the engagement of shooters from zero, okay, that's to say when they first started in, what is the characteristic of them? A lot of them are looking for external motivation. They find that it's interesting, to be able to handle a gun. When in Singapore, it's not so easy for you to actually handle a gun. Okay, so they find it very interesting. They find that, oh, it's fun. So yeah, a lot of things are very external motivation. Okay, their attention span is also shorter. They cannot be standing down there and shooting for a period of 1 hour, 2 hours continuously. Okay, it's very hard on them, both physically and also in terms of their mental capacity. It's very hard. Okay, so when they first come in, our main focus is to ensure that they're able to train correctly. Okay, so we give them a shorter training. Our training sessions are cut with more rest in between. Okay, we reduce our training load. So every week is only about 3 times or 4 times of technical training. Okay, and a lot of this training at the beginning is mostly instruction based. Okay, so what we're trying to achieve is every time they come for training, they're in a good state, physical and mental state, and they can train correctly. Then as they continue training after 1-2 years, okay, we'll find that at this stage, their thirst of knowledge increases. They wanted to know more about the sports, okay, know more about what is happening, how can they improve, okay. At this point in time, okay, probably they're about 15 years old to 16 years old, 17 years old. What we do is we increase their training frequency to about 4 to 7 times per week. Okay, so we have morning training, afternoon training, and also we have competitions over the weekend. Okay, and this period of time we introduce sports science. So the sports science that we introduce is very specific to shooting. Okay, when they are in 12 to 14, 15 years old, that period of time, there's also sports science component, but it's a more general one. Like how do you do positive self-talk, what sort of food you should be eating, but it's a very general kind that is suitable for everybody. But when they reach the second phase, okay, we actually give very specific sports science that's related to shooting, so they can use it for their sports. At this period of time, one very crucial factor to determine whether they will carry on their sports or not is, are they able to experience success? Okay, we find that, okay, for athletes that's able to experience success, they have a higher tendency for them to carry on way above, and they can actually continue to represent the country. So during this portion of time, right, in the middle, when they are halfway, they already passed through the beginner stage and they're trying to go on to the next stage. Okay, we need to find competitions that is of their level, so that they have chance to experience success. Any amount of success is a very good thing, as long as they can experience, whether is it really by winning the medal or by hitting their personal best. Okay, all these are forms of successes that we actually try to let them have the chance to experience it. And by doing that, we find that most people can actually continue to the next phase where they reach to a higher elite level, whether is it the youth team or the national team. Okay, so at this point in time, a lot of the motivation is internal. Okay, the athletes are very self-directed. We increase our training load during this period of time. Okay, a lot of their ownership of training is being passed on to the shooter. There's a lot of discussion going on, goal setting, what do we want to achieve. We help them to plan not just in terms of their shooting career, but also how does their academic studies going to fit into the different competitions that we have. Like every 2 years we have SEA Games. Are they going to have major exam in this point in time? Do we need to defer their studies? Or is the studies taking a lot of stress from them that they are unable to focus? So there's a lot of discussion going on. Now, another important aspect when they reach this elite level is actually rest and recovery. We find that a lot of these elite athletes, they tend to push themselves very hard to the extent that they just keep wanting to train and train and train. But as a coach, probably we need to make sure that they have sufficient rest and recovery so that they can walk a longer distance. They doesn't get burnt out easily. Okay, because in order for you to reach, let's say, the Asian Games or Olympic level, it's not a 1 year, 2 years. It could be 4 years, 8 years down the road. So we need to make sure that they are able to sustain for this whole journey. Now, regardless of which phase they are in, whether they are a beginner or whether they already reached the elite level, one very important thing that we need to pay attention and bear in mind is have fun and play games. I think just now Louis also mentioned a lot of time of having fun. Yeah. So regardless of the state, we try to incorporate fun into our training. We play games with them. We take them away from the monotony of daily training. And these are what we actually do. Okay. So once a week, every week we have these weekly activities. Okay, so this is the time where we try and build our team spirit, build our team culture, build the knowledge of our athletes. So we can play games. Okay, we have different games that we play with them. Some are individual games, some are teamwork game, some are moving games. Normally we go for those movement games because shooting is already a very static sport where you just stand down there and we're not supposed to have much movement. So on these weekly activities, we try to get them to run, to play. We try to play team games, basketball, play floorball, things like that. So that there's interaction among the athletes and they get to know each other better. Okay. Then we also have this responsibility, or like what Luis has said, accountability. So they are supposed to manage their environment as well. So if the range belongs to them, they have to help to keep the range clean and neat. So they will do range cleaning, they will do their guns cleaning, they will take care of their equipment, and they will wipe down the whole place. So different weeks we have different activities. And we also have this knowledge base. So we will actually arrange lessons for them. It could be technical lessons that is related to shooting. It can be sports science lessons, nutrition, mental skills. Okay, it can be some testing, sports science testing like force plate. So these are the different things that we have every week that we arrange for our students to take them away from the training. Okay. So as we carry on, okay, we go on to the personal life. Now, in order for the team to do well, or for the individual athletes to do well, okay, we need to make sure that they are a balanced person. A balanced person is just not just in terms of my shooting is good or my sports is good, but in order for you to do well in shooting, you also need to be balanced in your sports, your studies. Okay, if you are very weak in your studies, you're very stressed about it, it's very hard for you to focus during training. Okay, your friends, your social life. Okay, do you have a group of friends that you can depend on, or you're being outcast by your friends? All these plays an important part. How about your family? Some may be undergoing their parents may be undergoing divorce. Some may not have a very well family, and some may have financial issues that maybe they are unable to even have a lunch. And definitely at the age group of shooters that I'm handling, BGR also plays a very important part. So if they have quarrels with their boyfriends, girlfriends, all this will affect their training. So we do pay a lot of attention to how they are coping in terms of their personal life, and we do this through a lot of informal settings. Have a one-to-one talk, have a small group talks among the team, those that is able to relate more. Okay, and that's where we go for overseas trip. We will have our meals together. So these are very good opportunities for us to get to know them, and they need to trust us before they will open up. open up about their life, because at this age probably BGR is not something that we recommend, but it's hard to avoid. In fact, it is you can't avoid it. It's part of life. Okay, so although we don't recommend it, but we do want to know that what is happening in their life, and we do want to be there for them if anything happens. So they have to treat us as a friend, that they feel comfortable enough to let us know, hey, probably this person is chasing me, or I'm trying to chase a girl, things like that. And if anything happens, we'll always be there to give them a helping hand, to lend them the support that they require. So for personal life wise, these are the few aspects that we are actually interested in, and we hope that the athletes will be willing to share with us. So that's how we work with them.
Okay, Tiarong, sorry, can I just jump in a bit? So while you talk about personal life, I think the commonality for Louis also should talk about knowing about the athletes' personal lives and how they are doing. How do you then draw that boundary, of having that relationship with your athletes, being professional as a coach, but at the same time, they can actually still come to you to tell you about their problems or anything at all? How do you draw that boundary then?
Okay. I think the way I interact with my shooters is when we are at the shooting range, at the firing line, okay, is a very clear-cut coach and athlete relationship. So when we are there, we are serious, okay? They do not have this kind of, they do not negotiate, or they do not come with other personal things. But once we step out of the shooting line, right, then as we start to talk, about study, something that is not so invading. Over 1 year, 2 years, when the trust is being built, they will start to tell you about their personal life. Okay, and not only that, because I work in a school environment, so we have a lot of other staff like teachers, mentors, we have boarding staff that we will meet up on a regular basis to actually flag up, is there any issue with any of the students? So we know the students not just from one aspect of their life, like training, but we also know from their boarding, we also know from their academic point of view. So we have a more probably a 360 view of how this athlete is like. So if there's any help that's required, okay, we need to recognize something. We do not know everything. Okay, as a coach, there are always things that we do not know and we are not proficient in it. So once we realize that probably the issue is getting bigger, or is something that is beyond our control or beyond what we can actually help, we need to get the relevant professional to help out. Okay, so we need to approach the correct person to help this particular athlete when things are beyond our control anymore. So we can have the school counselors, we can look for their mentors. So there's quite a lot of support people in my environment that I can actually go and look for help when I realize that, hey, this is beyond my ability to actually help this particular athlete.
Okay, thanks, Tiarong. Probably just also talk us through on the challenges you face while trying to engage your athletes and maintaining that relationship and trust with your athletes.
Yeah, okay, sure. So some of the challenges I face actually include things like, okay, uh, as you guys know that the athletes I have, right, they come in from ground zero, mostly coming from ground zero. So their rate of progression is very different. Some actually takes a shorter time. As you see from Blue Club, some will take a longer time. But how do we, sometimes they will overlap and sometimes they may just change their position. So a lot of times we need to manage the team, because if let's say we are from the same team and we start off from no knowledge, how come this person can progress so well while I'm being led behind? So this will lead to a sense of demotivation. Their sense of self-worth may also drop. So this is a problem that we actually face. Now, so how do we actually tackle this problem because of the different rates of progression? Okay, first we'll definitely try from the technical aspect and from the mental aspect. Okay, so we'll try to see if there's any technical error with them. Okay, their training, how is it like? So we'll do an analysis. Okay, is there something about why do they belittle themselves? If this thing happened, do we need to get help in order to psychological help to help them, or it's something that we can manage. Maybe we need to find some competitions that they can experience success so as to build their self-confidence. So that's the first thing that we will do. Then we need to emphasize to the athletes that your worth as a person does not depend, your worth as a person does not depend on your sporting performance. Okay, we find that a lot of athletes actually link their self-worth to how well they do in their sports. If they do very well in a competition, they feel very good about themselves. If let's say that today your training doesn't go very well, you can see that, oh, they become very sad and demoralized. Okay, so I think it's a constant thing that we need to remind the shooters that your worth as a person does not depend on your sporting performance. Your parents is going to love you all the same. Your friends is treating you all the same. You are still the same person that we like. Okay, it's not based on whether you do well or you didn't do well in your sporting performance. So that's something that we need to keep telling them. And third, there will always be winner and loser in the sports. Okay, so there will always be people who may not be able to do well in their sports. So for this group of people, finally, what we'll do is we try and develop them in other areas, like leadership position. Maybe they can become the captain, because we have different duties that's assigned to different group of students, like range cleaning, armory duty, physical training, captains. So we can develop them in terms of this leadership position. Let them feel that they're responsible for something. They're responsible for their teammates as well. Okay, so this will bring up their engagement level to the sports again. Okay, their buddies to junior athletes so that they are a good role model. It doesn't mean that you need to do well in your sports before you can be a good role model, but your attitude, okay, your training attitude, the way you handle things, all this could be good role model to the junior athletes. And also, we also guide them in how to conduct competitions, how they can also help us in our Learn to Shoot program. So they are exposed to different areas of sports. Okay, so they can still make themselves useful, they can still be engaged in the sports, and hopefully they can still find enjoyment in doing these sports. Okay, so that's one of the things we face, different rate of progression. And the second thing that we face is the lack of time. Okay, and I believe a lot of coaches would also say that a lack of time is a major factor, especially those who are coaching schools. Basically, you go there when you have training, and after training, 2-3 hours later, you have to leave. How are you going to do all these engagement things? How am I going to find out about the personal life of the athlete, especially if you are coaching a team? Okay, 30 athletes, how am I going to do that? You don't even have enough time to look at them individually. So because of this lack of time, okay, so a lot of time we are saying that have fun in your training inside the training duration itself. Okay, while we may not be able to engage them in their personal life, but at least in training we can engage them to like these sports. So we incorporate this kind of engagement in our full training session. I will have games at the end of the training session. It may not be every day because it can get become a routine as well. So once in a while, we have games at the end of the training session. So this kind of games, what we do is we structure the games to train a certain component of, it could be a technical skills, it could be a tactical skills, it could be any skill sets that you want to train, but you make it into a game. Okay, so for example, I would say that, okay, now we are going to play a game. Okay, the person who actually hit the requirement of the game will get to leave or pack up first, okay, as a form of reward. Or sometimes you can give small little gifts, okay. So for example, changing of lanes. Now it's always possible that during competition, the lanes break down. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So during the game itself, we can have this changing of lane where they need to change the lane. So not only is something away from different from training, but they are actually training another skills, which is tactical skills. If a lane break down, what are they supposed to do? Okay, call the shots. So instead of every time shooting a 10, okay, even if you shoot a 9, as long as you can call the shots where your shot land, what score do you achieve, you get the points. And if you have enough points, you get to leave first. So you reward the person not just because I shoot very well, but actually because of a certain skill sets that they have that you want them to train and they're able to do well. Okay, so you shoot a particular score, not a 10 point. It can be, I want to shoot an 8 point in the 3 o'clock direction. So they learn how to sight their gun. So these are the different technical skills that we can incorporate into our gain at the end of training. It's different from just shooting, okay, but it does train certain technical components as well. So these are some of the challenges I brought up too for today. So these are what we actually try to engage them lah.
Okay, thank you, Tiarong. That's really good information. We have one question from Albert asking, what sort of mental training do your athletes go through to assist them in this area? Probably you can share.
Okay, so for mental training, we have different types. Self-awareness. Right now, what we're doing is self-awareness because a lot of people are not aware of how they are feeling. So we want to bring this self-awareness to them. So even during this circuit breaker time, we are actually doing this mental training with a self-awareness module. So we give them some notes, okay, and there's questions that they need to do reflective, how they think about certain things, and we'll go through with them. Then we also do things like mindfulness training, okay, and we also teach them how to do breathing control. Yes, breathing control. How do you use breathing to actually try and reduce your anxiety level, reduce your heart rate, so that we can actually do the shooting better. Yeah. So these are a few things that we actually try. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Tiarong. I will get the post back. Give me a moment. So I think in lieu of time, we will try to just wrap up and answer some questions. Maybe, Luis, probably I can get for you to answer a question from Peter about how advice of a team player with and probably how long does it take for them to have confidence in themselves? Probably you can just give some tips on that.
Okay, so players' level of confidence shows in their performance, or their performance can dip because of their confidence. It's a vice versa kind of thing. So what we do is we actually talk to the player individually and find out more about what we can do to help, or what issues are they facing. Is it because they feel the pressure from their teammates to perform because everybody else in their whole entire line is performing except this individual? Or is it in general that they feel they could have done better in that sense? So we actually sit down with the players, or we talk to the players, whether it's myself or me and another coach, or me and the trainer, to help them understand. Because once we have built this environment of trust with the player, they trust us to understand their situation. Thereafter, we help them in setting, or guide them accordingly into setting goals for themselves. It can be as simple as for every 10 shots taken during training, 9 will be on target. So they have that allowance of like, I can miss that one kind of thing. So this is just the basic components of minor game by game, training by training type of goal setting that we help them try to boost their confidence. And then of course, because the team is very cohesive, closer friends of certain players will also encourage them and talk to them. And then that's where we do all the high fives. The high fives during training actually really helps. And of course, the team cheers and etc. What we do during then, it really helps the player boost their confidence. We also seek help from the sports psychologists at SSI where required. And the sports psychologists have done a great job in helping us to boost the confidence of these players. And we always do like periodic checks with the players as well, because it helps us to understand if these players have actually basically their performance have improved. So we can tell whether this help in building their self-confidence via the various avenues that we have used that have helped them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Luis. Just give me a moment. Okay, so any other questions? You want to just type it in the group chat? Or you can just on your mic, and if you have any questions to Luis or Tiarong, just feel free to ask. I think that the good part about this session, we can see the common themes about them sharing of having that relationship with their athletes, is being engaged in their personal lives, having that trust level with your athletes, and also giving or always injecting fun in their training sessions, and also accountability. So I think these are really good takeaways that we can have from Luis and Tiarong. Just give me a moment. So there's one question from Facebook Live from Lawrence asking, as a coach, what are the must-see criteria you wish to see before you upgrade their current level to the next level? So probably Tiarong or Luis, you can share about that.
Sorry, what do you mean by must-see level?
The criteria to look out for if you see that potential in the athletes. What are the main criteria, maybe from Learn to Shoot program? What are the key factors to look out for that you think that they can actually progress to the next level?
Okay, because for different levels, I think you look out for different things, right? So if I say that from a shooter that has totally no shooting background, and how we can roughly see whether the person may be able to shoot or not be able to shoot, then it's actually not really by scores, but we do a lot of other assessments like the coachability. So if I'm going to coach you a particular skills, okay, how well are you able to learn and execute these skills? I think it's more important than the scores that you achieve. Yeah. How well are you able to change what you are doing now? Are you willing to change what you are doing now to learn these skills, or you are very fixed on, hey, this is what I've been doing. If I'm going to change now, my results will drop, and I'm not willing to do that. So it's very hard, you know. But in order for you to proceed further, probably you may need to make the changes. And when we make the changes, you will see a drop in your scores. So these are the things that we are looking out for when we try and select shooters. Are you willing to change? Are you coachable? You know, how stable you are. All this, the rest are technical things, like how stable you are, what's your grouping size, things like that. But for the non-technical one, probably I think the attitudes plays a big part. Yeah. Then as we continue up into once you already started shooting, you go for competitions already. Then for shooting for us, it's actually quite simple because we have scores. So it's based on the scores that you are able to achieve. Then you can actually reach to your national youth team, national team, and being selected for overseas competition. That's for shooting.
All right, thank you, Tiarong. I think in lieu of time, we will proceed on. Or for all other questions, we will take it back, and then we will try to look into them and get Tiarong and Luis to answer them as well. So really big thanks to Tiarong and Luis for doing this. I think they are really good information, and for good things or factors for coaches to learn. So for everyone, please do give in your feedback. By doing so, you will get a one hour CCE hour. So please fill in your feedback through the go.gov.sg/motivational Monday 18 May, or you can even just scan the QR code. Okay, I just give time for you to scan the QR code and get into the feedback. So not to worry, all these slides that's been shared, we will also put it on the coaching learning resources. So for the feedback, do include your name and your email address if you want it to be part of your CCE hour. And ensure that your email is typed correctly, because I understand some people do not receive the confirmation email. Okay, I hope everyone have gotten the feedback link. I think my colleague Yongju have already typed it out in the Zoom group chat. Okay, so for the next up, we have upcoming workshops. This Thursday, we have our Skills Future Advisory webinar for coaches. We will have our E2I trainer, Ricky, sharing with you on how you can use your Skills Future. So I think that's a good information for you to learn as well. And next Monday, we will have Motivational Monday, a Hari Raya special. So look out for that. And next Thursday, we will actually have a few of our swimming coaches with us. And we'll talk about the art and science of coaching swimming. So not, I mean, we will, although it's talking about swimming, I think it's open to all other coaches as well. Yeah, so feel free to register for any of our e-workshops and join in for these sessions. Okay, if you need the link, it's already in the Zoom group chat as well. And of course, lastly, for the coaching learning resources, do proceed to our learning resources where all of these slides will be shared with you, and all our past e-workshop slides as well. And as you know, the My Active SG Circle, which is a new page where coaches can advertise their classes or their sessions, do take a look at that too. And if you want to review, if you miss any of our e-workshops, go to our Facebook, which is Coach SG, and you can scan the QR code for our Facebook. You can look through the video resources. So all our past e-workshops will be there. And also our home-based learning programs, we have word up challenges from floorball, shooting. Recently, we just had the shooting video up, which received quite good feedback. So it's all up on YouTube, so do take a look at them. Okay, so thank you very much everyone for joining us at this session. It is, again, I would like to thank Tiarong and Louis for coming in. It's a really great pleasure to have you guys here. And of course, thank you very much. I hope it was useful information for all of you. So before we leave, probably everybody can just turn on their video. We will have a quick picture together. Let's turn on the video. Okay. All right, it's great to see everyone. Okay, probably everybody can just wave at the camera, and then I'll just do a quick screenshot. Wave. Yeah, first page. I'll have the second page. Everybody just keep on waving. Yes, it's nice to see all the smiley faces and all the energetic spirits and energy. All right, thank you so much, coaches. So if you have anything at all, just feel free to drop us a message on our Facebook or Instagram. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining us this session. I hope it has been very useful for you. All right, and hope you guys have a good Monday and a good week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, coaches.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye. 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 Dah.